Well, good morning. Good morning. I am Rabbi Brian. It says so right there. That's how I know. Welcome. This is the Saturday service. I know that because it says it right there. What it doesn't tell you is that today is December the 20. No, it's not. It's December the 18th, 2021. I am joined here by a bunch of friends. Hopefully I get that screen to work. There are the friends. Hi, friends. Would you all wave to all the people who are watching on Facebook and the people who are watching after the fact? And hey, any of you who are watching after the fact or on Facebook, you can join the people in these little squares if you sign up at rotb.org for the 77% weekly. You'll get a link every week as to where the Saturday service is being held. So glad everyone is here. And this is a last week I have to thank Afia for running services. Last week I was in Seattle doing an installation service. I installed a rabbi, which I looked up on Google. How do you install? And as soon as I typed that in, I got answers, and it told me how to install a garage door opener and how to install a dishwasher and so I typed in a little further, and I typed in how do you install an RABBI, and Google, God bless Google, told me how to install a rabbit-proof fence and how to install a rabbit water bottle. So I, not daunted, typed in how do you install a gender non-binary rabbi in Seattle, Washington in December of 2021, and Google gave up on that one.
But we have some extra rabbits here.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Thank you. Just as long as you have 2 rabbits, you'll have plenty. So it was a lovely week, and I thank Afia for running the service. For those of you who watched the service last week after the fact, boy, oh boy, did I hit the wrong buttons on the recording, and you got to just see my face for the entire time, and I apologize for that. I want to talk today. First, I want to tell you guys some news. I have some news to share with you. As many of you might know, I have been working, have this relationship with a literary agent, and I handed in, she had asked me a while ago to write a 10,000 word piece, which I had done, which was my first, the first test that she gave me, and I passed that one, and then she gave me another test, and we met last Monday. And I have had a dream, a hope. I wonder how many of you have had this kind of hope, that I have always had this hope, and I've seen it happen. I remember in rabbinical school, we all handed in a paper our first year, and the professor came by and said, one of you has written a paper that is so wonderful. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is it. This is finally the moment where somebody is going to say what I've always wanted. And he said, one of you has written a paper that is so wonderful, I'm going to ask that it gets submitted for publication. And my entire life, I had been looking forward to a professor or a teacher looking at my work and seeing that it was absolutely brilliant. And the professor came over with the piece of paper and handed it to my neighbor, Jackie, who was the one who had written the brilliant piece. And it wasn't me. And then I gave to Kathy this thing, and she said, Brian, what you have written is just brilliant and needs to be published and shared with the world. I mean, it needs work. But I was very excited, so I'm thrilled that this agent thinks where I'm going is just wonderful. So yay! I'm gonna keep. And then because I am human, I then had the set of thoughts that obviously she's insane, because why else would she think that what I did was just great? And then I came to realize, well, that's just ridiculous. And I had a second thought after the one that she was nuts for liking my work, which was, which I think is probably the most logical next thought, which is, I've probably just invented her, and she's a figment of my imagination. So, isn't it fun to be human, people?
You should get a ticket.
I should get a ticket. I have. Thank you for that, Rita. I have all the raffle tickets right here. And let's take a moment and do this right now and see if there are people for whom. what we often do at the service is I say, is there anyone who did something in the last week for which they are super proud? And we're adults and we know that there's more to morality than just doing something to avoid a punishment, and there's more to doing good deeds than just doing it because someone's going to give you a cookie. But at the same time, we're also human, and getting recognition for something we did well or something we're proud of, it counts for a lot. It helps us to remember that we're doing good stuff. So that being said, is there someone out there who did something in this last week for which they are proud, and I can rip off a raffle ticket for them and give them is there someone out there who deserves a raffle ticket? Yes, Maria, what'd you do this last week? Let us know, and I'll put your name on this one.
I could tell this past week that my mom was uncomfortable about driving to an appointment. So I was able to work out and sort of combine our different things. And so I was able to drive her, which I know made her feel far more comfortable.
Good. Well done. And you will get a raffle ticket. For those of you who don't know, I don't actually send these raffle tickets out. These are conceptual prizes, and that's how this works. But I will put your name on it, Maria. So here you go. You have Maria. Is there someone else for whom a raffle ticket would be the appropriate reward for having done something you're proud of? Yes, Jocelyn.
So last week, my MBA. So this week, I had a book that I wanted to read. So I was able to get myself to relax.
And you finished your MBA, yes?
Yes.
I think that is just fantastic. Well played. And Jocelyn will give you a raffle ticket. Someone else who did something for which they're proud? Or, yeah, Bob, what do you have?
Yeah, I fought with my paneling project down in the basement, and in a very contorted location that I managed to get everything to fit well.
All right. Well, that's its own reward, and well done, Bob. I'll put a raffle ticket. I spelled your name backwards, but it will work just fine.
I do that once in a while myself.
As long as I don't put two O's in it, I think we're just fine.
Well, that works too.
So let me take a moment and just say welcome to everyone who's here. This is a different kind of service, and let me just re-underline and explain that. The service that I ran last Friday, I helped to run to install a rabbi. It was very much of the sage on a stage kind of thing, where we as the clergy were up on a stage and presenting material back and forth with the congregation. And this is not that. And I'd like to take a moment to talk about what this model is. This model is more of a collaborative type of service. This is more we're all in this together. And that being said, do I have an outline of things that I want to talk about. But that will change based on who is here and what's going on in the group. So I want to just take a moment and see, is there something that's on someone's heart and mind that's totally pressing that they feel they need to share in this community? And that's a big ask, but if there's something, I'm scanning faces right now. We seem to be all right. Yeah, go ahead, Linda.
Both my sisters are very depressed, and it's Christmas time, and one lives in Wisconsin where it's terribly depressing anyway, and the other one's in Tennessee, and she's a blue and a red state, so it's a very difficult time for her. She's got to get sad lights because she doesn't have any. Seasonal
affective disorder, that stuff is real. Let me ask a question, show of hands. It's the holiday jolly season, isn't it? Jolly. How many people find this to be a really difficult time? How many of you find this to be difficult? I think this is a really difficult season. And there's something about this time where we're all supposed to be holly and jolly that makes it really doubly difficult. And I'm related to some people on this Zoom who are out there, but let me also say that there are people for whom spending time with their relatives makes it a little less holly and jolly and makes it pretty hard. So if you're having a rough time, I'd love you to know you're not alone. A lot of people find this season to be really, really difficult and really, really hard. And so just to know that. And that being said, we will be open for business a week from today, which is Christmas Day. Service will be running, and the Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse, that's going to be open too. And if you just need a place to come and find some people, and you just need to vent something, make sure to check out the Clubhouse and know that you're always welcome there to leave a message so that you can feel heard and seen if you need to. Jeffrey, what do you got, bud? You're muted though. Oh, you were. It's just your hand was in the air. There was nothing.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So those of you who know, I worked as a high school teacher. So anytime that anyone puts their hand up and starts scratching their head or something like that, I assume instantly that you had a question or something to add. So I apologize, Jeffrey. Yes, Rita, you have something to share.
All right. So are you saying it's not the same link that we use for Saturday service?
The Saturday service is open. This exact link that you're on right now will work again next week. But if you want to join the Clubhouse, we have a Clubhouse. It's like a private, it's not Facebook. It's its own private thing. There are no ads on it. There's no other people looking in. It's a Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse. And Alex, if you could make sure that the link makes its way into the chat. Oh, there, I see. You already did the Clubhouse link. It's already there.
And are you going to be serving Chinese food next Sunday?
I will not be serving Chinese.
It's a tradition.
So for people who don't know that,
Working on Chinese donuts.
That's hilarious.
There's a tradition that Jews go to the movies on Christmas Day and eat Chinese food because it was the food that's open on Christmas Day. In my house, we have a big Christmas because it was what Jane celebrated growing up, and I have really come to love having the Christmas magic that we have in our house. So I will not be having Chinese food next week. I'm going to be doing. You should be all right with whatever I eat should not affect any of your happiness. I think that's where it starts to get a little codependency. Okay, I have a topic I wanted to bring up. Let me just make sure I got that. I did, and I told you about Kathy. So I got a letter from our friend James, who's in prison in Susanville, and he wrote this, and I wanted us to see that. He said, the chaplain assisted us with starting our 6th self-help group. It begins in January. And then this is a part I thought was great. So, still putting in the work, big bro, with my, quote, enemies on my tail. They still don't get it. I'll let their worst bring out my best.
Wow.
Wow.
That was good.
Yeah. And I think of it this way. There's a phrase in the Talmud, there's a phrase in rabbinic literature which translates to all the more so. It's kal v'chomer. Like, if this is true, all the more so it's true in this case as well. And I think about the fact that here's James in prison where they just transferred a whole bunch of people who were in his former gang into the area where he is. And it's not good. And the correction officers and he don't exactly agree about rehabilitation. And he said, I'm going to work. My enemies are on my tail. They don't get it. I'll let their worst bring out my best. And I think all the more so, I'm not in jail. I don't have former gang members with whom I swore allegiance coming in, and I'm not having meals with them at all. And I think, well, all the more so, can we do that too? Do we all have the power to not let their worst upset us? And I want you to think for a moment about if you have a family gathering on Christmas, if you have a thing that's about to happen and you have family members who are maybe your quote enemies or who ride you hard, is there a way that you can let their worst bring out your best?
Oh, my smoothie.
It's a good idea. And then there's a story that James and I both liked. So James and I met through a friend of mine, Nagi, who's a Buddhist teacher. And Nagi used to go into the county jails in LA, and that's where he met James. And then Nagi asked me to start writing to James, and that was, 15 plus years ago. And wow. Nagi would tell this story, and this is what I wanted to start us with today. Nagi would tell this story, and it goes like this. Imagine you're leaving a supermarket and you're carrying 2 bags of groceries. And you're carrying 2 bags of groceries, and you leave the supermarket. It has an automatic door. It opens up. You go out, and as soon as you go out, you trip over a skateboard because there's a bunch of kids, 15-year-old kids sitting on the side there, and you trip over one of their skateboards and all your groceries go flying, and you make a mess. The eggs are there on the ground broken. And Nagi asks, would you be angry? And the answer, of course, is, would you be angry if that happened?
Yeah.
Of course you would be. We all would be. And then Nagi asked this question. He said, what would happen if you are leaving the supermarket, you got 2 big bags of groceries, the automatic door opens, you go out, and you trip, and you fall, and you look and you see what you just tripped over was there's a blind man sitting there, and you tripped over the blind man's dog. Would you be as angry?
No.
Same exact situation, right? We're in the exact same situation. You're carrying the groceries, the automatic door opens by itself, and you trip and all of the eggs are on the ground, spilled. Why are you upset in one case and not so upset in the other case? Shirley, you got something to share with us there?
Well, because the young children, the teenagers were careless, and the blind person had no knowledge.
So we're upset because
context makes a difference.
Right.
I have a question. I think we're all on the same page with this. Yeah. Okay. Can I, if all of the context is how I see it, do I not have the ability to change my perception of it? And the kids were just being careless. They left their skateboard out. The same as the dog. Help me to see a little bit more into this. What else do we have here?
Because I was there in that situation, then it's my fault.
Ah.
I chose to be there.
And did you choose to be angry?
No.
And you're angry.
I chose to be there, that's all.
And one situation gets you angry, one situation does not. I would like to venture to say that we do choose, at some point, we choose to see that the kids are at fault, and the other time they're not. Go ahead, Rags.
Of course we choose that. But neither is the case.
Neither is the case. Say a little bit more, Rob, and then we'll move to Rags.
It's only in your own mind that you are making the choice to be angry or not.
Do y'all hear what Rob's saying there? That I don't think we want to listen. Well, I want to listen to Rob, but I don't want to listen to what he's saying. Is that it's our choice to choose anger.
Mm-hmm.
Rags, do you have more you wanted to add?
Oh, we're back to the righteousness thing we talked about several weeks ago.
Yeah. So it was a long while ago. We talked about that I'm going to mess up the quote, is that righteous indignation is jealousy with a halo.
Right.
We talked
Yeah.
that
And
righteous.
it's a thing we choose. We choose it to make ourselves feel better in a really unhealthy way.
Is to find fault in the situation.
We want to find fault and blame someone else. Anne, who's over there with Jocelyn.
Yes. What I was going to say is it really is a matter of choice. You are making the choice to be upset in that particular situation, or you're not getting upset because of another situation. But the one thing that I think that maybe we should talk about is what you're bringing into the anger. You know, at that instant that the kids, that you dropped your food because of the kids on the skateboard. You know, what backstory is that? How do you feel about teenagers on skateboard?
Right. That you have a bias towards one and not towards the other. I mean, you could also say, you dumb blind person, hold your dog a little closer.
No.
Someone
Or why don't you stay off the street and out of my way?
Yeah.
Right.
Then you would be a Karen.
Not sure.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah.
Well, we might have people act.
Rabbi Eileen had her hand up.
Go ahead, Eileen. Thank you. Where are you, Eileen?
It was a little bit before, but I wanted to thank everybody for all their good thoughts and prayers. I'm on the upswing, feeling better health, and I was thinking about it when you were offering your raffle tickets, because I have neglected James for months.
Sorry.
And I wrote him a long letter, and I went out to the post office on Wednesday. His birthday is Monday.
Yes.
And I sent him a card and a long letter. Oh, and I thanked him for being a wonderful friend to me, because his letters and postcards kept coming, and I didn't really have an excuse. I think it was the upcoming holidays, whatever. But when I got sick, I got to say no. I canceled all work for 3 weeks, and I just really let it go. Like, okay, I don't have the energy. My energy had to be in just taking care of me, and a lot of people checked up on me and said prayers and everything. And I just really appreciate this group. That's community for me, and it's a circle that I'm happy to be a part of.
Thank you,
I missed
Eileen.
last week. I just didn't have the energy, but
okay. How many
I'm back,
of you?
and
Good for
I love you all.
Eileen. Thank you for the love.
Thank you.
And let me ask.
Glad you're feeling better.
Let me ask, how many of us have a really hard time taking care of ourselves? Canceling something, just about every single person. Okay. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that we have a hard time taking care? I'll ask it this way. How many of you, even if you've just met Eileen for the first time hearing it, how many of you thought, oh, that Eileen, she's a, look at her. She canceled her meetings. She's an awful person. How many of you had that opinion?
No.
But on the flip side, how many of you would have had a hard time canceling your own appointments because you would have to push yourself? That's all of us.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? No. Not all of us. I apologize. A large
Thank
number
you.
of us. You're welcome. Y'all keep me really sharp. So it is
You're a pencil.
hard to take care of ourselves, and often we know how to be kinder. Sometimes I'll say this to people in spiritual direction. I say, if you met someone who is presenting with the exact things you're presenting with, how would you treat them? And we all know how to treat someone else, but to treat ourselves, that's a little bit harder. So good for you, Eileen, for taking care of yourself. Good.
And I heard that in your story, that often we'll blame somebody else, but we're most mad at ourselves for tripping.
Right?
You know, it just happened, but the negative self-talk that sometimes just erupts is not very nice.
Do you all? I want to repeat what Eileen just said. The negative self-talk that we all have is not really nice. I want to bring back to something. I saw a hand up for a second there. I can't remember.
Bob.
It was Bob. Go ahead, Bob. And then Shirley.
Yes, and what Eileen was talking about is somewhat where I was going to. Is it not my responsibility to watch where I'm walking? And that when I look at that, I look at some examples of where I have tripped by not watching where I was walking, not because somebody put a curb in the way, or not because of something else, but it was because I didn't watch where I was walking.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob. And Shirley, what are you going to add for us?
Well, I was thinking about this, and I think getting angry at first or embarrassed or whatever would be a natural response. It's what we do with it that matters. So,
interesting. Say that again. That it's not that we go. Say it again, because I lost it there.
It's not the anger that's the issue. That's normal. We are human. We're going to get embarrassed. We're going to go through. I mean, the minute one falls and drops things, you're going to have a reaction. There will be a visceral emotional response to that event. What we do with it makes the difference. It's what are we going to do with that? Whether it was a blind man's dog or a teenage kid that wasn't paying attention. What do we do with it?
Right.
That's where we have power.
And I would say where we ought to go is compassion for ourselves and for the other people. Compassion is never wrong.
It just reminds me, and one time I was sleeping in the middle of the night and I rolled over and knocked my own glass of water on my head. And it was a cold glass of water, and I was angry. I was so mad, and I just was really good sleep. And but it just, this whole thing kind of reminds me there's only me to blame in a situation like that.
I'm gonna extend this, and then we'll go and do the prayers that we normally do. We have been talking. We talked a while ago about the tissue and what happens if someone offers you a snotty tissue. The proper response to that is
no, thank you, but no.
Yeah, is a polite no, thank you. Is a polite no, thank you. And I want to extend that today and ask ourselves if we know that somebody says something snotty, and I swear to you, I never got the joke about it being snotty with a dirty tissue until this week. Someone says something snotty to you, you all have the right to say, let me hear you say it.
No, thank you.
No. You all have the right to say no, thank you. And here's the next level of this. Let's say you hear yourself in your head say, God, you're a stupid idiot. You just dropped a glass of water on your head. Do you have the ability to say to that own internalized voice,
no, thank you.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have the right to do that.
We have the right to do it. And I guess what I'm going to ask is, can we all try to practice that a little bit? Practice saying no thank you to the snotty voice within our own head. The snotty voice in our own head that said, you should have been better than you are. No thank you. No thank you.
Not only the snotty voice, but sometimes the snarky voice.
All right, snarky voice, snotty voice. Yeah. Yes, thank you. There was another voice that I just
heard. Laugh at yourself.
It is better to laugh at yourself. It's hard to do. It's hard to do. We're going to take a we're all right here. Let me take a moment and transition us over to our friend Joe, who reads for us. We have people for whom we want to say some prayers today. So Joe, go ahead and help us out with that, would you?
Okay, today we have Bob's Rita, and then his sister Mary and husband Norm, and his friend Andy. Ken and Joe, Margaret, who is Alex's mom, Carol, who is Lee's mom, Dakota and friends and family, and that's connected with Diane Bloom, Ian, and then Derek, and Ian is Derek's son, those who are grieving lost loved ones, democracy, courage for us to join hands and never let go of love in rough times, all the people affected by the recent storms and tornadoes, people living or had to live in abusive households. April is having a complicated medical procedure done. Abby, that is Steve's daughter, and Eileen's brother-in-law, Dave, who's still in ICU.
We'll take all of these names and the names of all the people who have not been mentioned, and we're going to take a minute, and we're going to start that minute when the clock above my head here says 40 seconds. We're going to take a minute of just silent prayer. Okay. I want to bring us to a topic, and we'll see where this goes. I think it's one that we are in need of. Most of us here are in the winter season. I know that I do have some friends who are in New Zealand who watch this at a later point, so it's summer for them. But for the rest of us, it is a darker season. We're coming up on the longest night of the year. And I want us to talk for a moment about hope. I want to talk about hope, and I want us to think about, from where does hope arise? And I did a Google search. What is the source of hope? And by golly gee, if the word God is not mentioned in 9 to 10 out of 10 of the entries. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but how do we manufacture hope? And I have a great quote here I want to share about hope. This is from Desmond Tutu. He said, there's a definition. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. And from what I looked at, there's a lot of, there's optimism and then there's hope, and they're separate and different things. And that optimism can be a sense of looking at everything, that everything's for the best. And this is all great, and it can get a little Pollyanna to have to be just optimistic. But hope, what I've read said that hope can exist even in the darkness, that hope, as opposed to optimism is everything's fine, everything will be working out fine. But that hope can hold on to the difficulty and to not whitewash it away, and say that we do still have the hard times. We just have some sense that there still is some light despite all of the darkness.
Yeah, even if there is only a little bit of light, it is enough.
It only takes a little bit of light to dispel a lot of darkness. And what I want to ask us to do is we're going to go into small groups. So Alex, that's your warning that I'd like to have us go into small groups. And I'd like to ask people in the small groups to share with your fellows, from where does your hope come? What do you have hope in? Where does it come? Where does it come from, or what do you hold out hope in? And for everyone in the group to get a chance to say one or two good sentences about hope, and then to see what discussion comes out of your little group about hope. And I just want to reiterate, when we're in small groups, that we're not, even if somebody says something directly and says, I'm not really sure how to blank, 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 that your job in the small group isn't necessarily to answer that question. Your job in that small group is to acknowledge what the person said. We often want to hope, we want to fix something. Someone says, well, I don't have any hope. And we want to say, oh, but you ought. And I don't want us to say that. I want us to be able to just acknowledge where people are and say, I heard that you said that you don't have a lot of hope these days. So I'm going to break us into small groups. Let me ask if there's, just to see what kind of clarification we need about the instruction. The instruction is for each person in the group to say a sentence or two about where they find themselves with regard to hope these days. Questions?
If I can comment that the sun always comes up. It's just that the clouds sometimes get in the way.
That is absolutely true. And if you live here in the Pacific Northwest, you better believe it, because it is just, it's a beautiful light gray today. It's just gray, a lot of gray. Questions about what we're doing in our small groups? We're all ready to go? If you don't want to go to a small group, you don't have to. If you're on a phone and you're doing this by audio only, you will get transferred into a small group. That's just one of the lovely features of Zoom. You don't have to share if you don't want to. And if you want to stay back, you can stay back. So Alex, would you open up our small groups? And oh, hi, Violet. Glad to see you there. We'll go over to small groups and we'll take about 6-7 minutes in a small group. Alex, we're all ready? Is it working? There it goes. People are off to small groups. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty outside.
It is pretty outside.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, it looks like I'm still here with a few people. Ellis and Betty and Rose. I remember Rose. And Jim and Amy, Charlene, Bobby, Emily, Jocelyn, and Ann, who doesn't get billing. I'm sorry, Ann. I don't know why she don't give you billing on the screen there. It's just not. Is there anyone who is in this group that's left behind who would like to be in one of the other rooms, or y'all, this is where you wanted to be?
We're here for the bad dad jokes.
Ah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we're going to go to bad dad jokes quite yet. I want to see if we have anything we wanted to share about hope before we did. Anything, Bobby? What's going on for you with regard to hope? Do you care to share? And you can shake your head and say, no, Rabbi, I don't really want to share. That's fine.
We're trying to move a friend of mine into assisted living, and she's been very reluctant, but she all of a sudden decided, yes, this is what I need to do. But it's not quite as easy as everybody would think. Let's just take on an assisted living. So it's been very challenging, especially right about now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think anyone really wants to go into assisted living. That's a rough gig. That's a rough gig. You might know you need to, or that you should, but man, we all love our independence, and it's hard to give that up. Hard to give that up. Ellis, you have something you want to share, my friend? You can say no. The answer no is always a option.
Oh, I've always got something to say.
You got anything on the topic of hope by chance?
Hope for me is it's just I'm a kind of an eternal optimist, I guess you might say. So it's just a state of mind that I decide to be in.
Alice, that is absolutely right. I agree with you. Hope is a choice. I wouldn't want to tell that to people, but it's something we have to choose. And I think we have to choose it all the time. We have to remind ourselves to choose hope again and again and again. It's something my buddy Larry says. He said, I would rather live with hope and be occasionally wrong than live without it and always be right.
Yep.
Yeah. Anne, what you got?
Well, hope for me is contagious in a sense, because I see my hope, what I reflect in my daughter's eyes, because I had a stroke a year or so ago, and it's been hard trying to adjust to life after that. And there's many times I wanted to give up, and I even acted like I gave up, but through the encouragement and the faith in me that my daughter has, it helped build my hope that I'll overcome this and everything will be okay.
Amen. Hope is contagious. Pessimism's contagious too, but hope is contagious. Absolutely. Nikki, you have something there? I saw your mouth moving. So.
Good thing or bad thing, I'm not sure. I'm finding to keep hope up, you have to rely on yourself more than anything else, because lately, with the Omicron and the things that are going on in the world, I'm hearing people that have always been super optimistic. And I'm not hearing that so much anymore.
Yeah.
They're trying. I'm finding that because so many people that I look to when I need a little bit more hope than I can give myself, they're not there right now.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
This is a really rough time. This is a really rough time. And yet we can still manufacture up some hope. Amen.
I like the statement that more hope than I can make for myself. I like that. That's, to me, that's where hope comes from, because I'm in a position as a widowed mother where, the worst is happening, but I still can make steps forward, or I can still move forward. And so I kind of have to generate my own path and my own hope that way.
Amen. So I think we're all agreeing that hope is on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Hope is on the inside. It's something that we choose for ourselves. And even in just talking about it, I know for me, I think, oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot to choose hope. And it can be that easy of a switch. It's like, oh, forgot. Let me have a little bit more of that hope.
I saw something the other day that said there are only 2 days in the year that we can't do anything about, and that's tomorrow and yesterday.
Ooh. I like that.
Genius.
So to me, it's always living in the moment. I can't live that moment 2 moments ago at all.
Right.
Nor can I live the one that's coming up until it arrives. So,
but we can choose hope. Hope, although it's future oriented, I think what you're saying is that hope is in the present, even though it's towards the future.
Exactly, because the future is built out of the present. So what are we doing today is what happens tomorrow.
Amen. Well, this is fascinating. I love it. Thank you guys for staying. Everyone else they're flying back in now. So thank you guys who were in this group as we were for sharing, and we'll wait for everyone else coming back. Alex, give me those. Where is? Oh, there, 5, 4. I see the timer. Here they all are coming. There they are. Hi, folks. Welcome back. Here they come.
Here we are.
Welcome back.
We're back.
Welcome back. Well, I'm gonna I'm going to elect myself to speak on behalf of the group with whom I was talking. And we came up with that hope is always a choice. And it's a choice that we have to continually make over and over again. We have to choose hope. Because I think the half-life of hope, unfortunately, is about the same length as the half-life of awe and wonder. It's pretty fast, as opposed to the half-life of shame, which lasts a lot longer. The half-life of hope is not as long as I would wish and needs to be reapplied frequently. The other thing that we said in our group was that hope is an inside job. You have to do it for yourself. While it might be contagious and you see someone else with hope, hope is something that we have to choose for ourselves.
Hope is community.
Hope. Give me some, and I thank you. Somebody just said the thank you. Anything that came out of your groups that you feel a burning desire to share? What'd you learn in your group about hope? What'd you learn?
Our group was, I think, similar to yours in the sense that none of the four of us saw God necessarily as the source of hope. That what you found in doing your Google research did not reverberate with our hearts. We didn't get so far as saying it's a choice, but we all felt that it was something inside of each of us that we tended to be naturally hopeful.
Yeah.
Without being able to put our finger on where it came from.
Right. There's only one origin story I know about hope, and that's from Pandora's box. Is that where did hope come from? And it comes out of all the evil that's in the world.
Comes from ourselves.
Hope is an inside job. Yeah. And anything else that got shared in your group? I'd love to hear. If I haven't heard from you, go ahead, Ron, and then Shirley, and then Aaron, get yourself ready because we're going to do announcements after Shirley.
Oh, I was waiting.
Go ahead, Ron.
Bated breath.
The more specific the hope, the more likely to be disappointed. The idea that hoping for the best, hoping in more general terms, allows that hope to come through.
That hope in the specific, I hope to find a parking spot, that's a little too specific?
No, I hope to find a parking spot with time left on the meter.
That's too specific. Yeah. And on the other hand, we should be having hope in a more general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we don't know if we're really in desperate straits. We want it to work out some way.
Amen. Without being so hung up on the specifics. Shirley, what do you have to add to us for hope?
Well, in my small group, we talked about a couple things, but I think the prevailing thing was community. We find hope in community. You just woke up and you're suffering with darkness in your life. The reaching out and finding community gives us hope.
Amen. I love it.
That's good.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do some announcements now, and we have our first time announcement reader, Aaron, who got volunteered for it. Go ahead, Aaron.
Woo! 1 second.
Ready? Aaron.
Okay, 1 sec. I gotta load this up again. Not sure why it went away, but all right. 1 sec. All right, it's loading. Hello, I'm Aaron. I'm today's Sunday Saturday service announcer for this Saturday, 18th of December, 2021. Woohoo! Yay! Zoom crew hangs out with Rabbi Brian on Tuesdays. Join us here on Tuesday. All are welcome. The same link at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Many people have attended the service, have gotten raffle tickets for acts of love, for surprising themselves by being kind and or patient. Specific raffle tickets. special. I'm missing. What does this mean?
We can skip the raffle tickets. We already did that.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Like,
anyhow. Missed one here. Skipped it over. Okay. The ROTB Community Clubhouse is a private place to be in touch and share with other ROTBers. And it will be open on Christmas Day. If you're looking for a place to hang out on 1225 to chat with some people, stop by. Okay.
You can have a service that day?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
That's wonderful.
If you didn't get it last week, all the quotes used in the service are available on the bonus page.
Bonus page.
What are you doing?
Is there
If
something?
you're new and want some review, want some review, RB's handy sheets are available on Etsy. Graphics and words to remind you of some of the great tools discussed in previous services. The restreaming service, RTB's reported about 20 hours of live watching per week in the last 4 weeks, which means there are 20 people watching this on YouTube, the RT website, and Facebook. RB says, howdy folks, get a link for front row Zoom link when you sign up. You sign up for the 77% weekly newsletter at rotb.org. If you'd like to join the ROTB subset for the Shekinah group, we're chatting about God, post in the chat, and Rita will find you there. The group is wholly fun. Support this work. Support RB. Support religion outside the box. I do. Go to rotb.org/donate.
Copy.
Okay. It's upcoming. The talent show is upcoming in the new year. Still looking for some variety acts. I'll be live and it'll be live and a bunch of fun. Post in chat if you want to be involved. RTB's friend James has a birthday at the end of the month. His address is in the chat. Would you like to be kind as to send him a postcard or letter? And how about a book of stamps? And for meditation, there's something that's great to do. Nothing. Join RB for the 20-minute sit every weekday streaming at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook. I went there 3 times this week and there wasn't anything. I don't know if something was wrong or I missed the time. I'm in Eastern, so I thought it was 5 o'clock. Anyways, just thought I'd point that out.
I was there.
Okay, well, something was wrong then.
Okay.
Stick around for this hour for small groups. We have Deep Dive with Alan Kipp for people who want to take a subject and burn a hole through it. Donuts with Mario and Joe for people who want to talk about the topics brought up today in the atmosphere of donuts. And the Poetry Room. If you have a poem you'd like to share or listen in, meet there in the Poetry Room. And now back to you, our service host.
Well, thank you, Aaron. Can we get some woots and some shouts for Aaron for taking on that job?
Thank you very much. Jelly Donut.
There's just thank you, Aaron, and just to piggyback on what Aaron just said, there's 2 requests in the chat for how do you get to the Shekinah group.
I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to find Jim's email. Jim, if you'll give me your email address, I've already got Ask Linda in the chat, then I will put you on the list.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll do that.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you for Rita. I want to thank you for always helping out and running the Shekinah group. We don't know how you wound up with that job. It was God's plan, I guess. I don't know how that happened.
No, I was the only one at the time who knew how to open a Zoom meeting.
Okay. Well,
You do a great job.
that's fair.
That helps. Yeah.
So before we end, I know I made some notes of what it is that I'm taking with me from today's discussion, and I'm just curious: is there a moral to the story? Is there something that you're taking with you that you remember to do based on what we've talked about in this last almost hour? Is something that you want to share so that other people can remember that too? What are you taking with you? What'd you get out of today's service?
Yeah.
Oh,
Carol Ox, is that a hand up or is that a rubbing of the forehead? a rubbing of the forehead?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. That's, again, old teacher habit. Yes, Harold, what do you have?
I think after I read the Obama quote in the chat, the thing that hit me is hope is really up to us, whether it's personal or community or worldwide. It's up to us to get out there and do the job.
Amen.
And make sure that the job gets done.
Hope is up to us. I think that's brilliant. That's something no one else is going to give it to us.
Yeah.
Something else that you're taking with you from today?
Yeah. Hope is taking action.
That hope is taking action. We have to choose hope. We have to continually choose hope. It's not a long-standing thing to have. For most of us, it's something we have to re-choose to have all the time. I'm going to re-quote my friend Larry, who said about hope. He said, "I would rather have hope and occasionally be wrong than not have hope and always be right."
Right.
It's a very hard time right now. We're looking like that Omicron is here comes Omicron, and it's scary. But I want us to remember that it's important for us to, if for nobody else, just ourselves, to maintain hope. Because it's what's going to get us through. Amen. If you would stick around, Alex, I'm